Hello, good morning, everyone. So please, so let's give others about 5 minutes to join the class. So when it's 10:07, we can kickstart. Good morning. So we'll be starting in the next 2 minutes. Kolakbo, I hope you can hear me, because I just saw your message now. We'll be starting the next 2 minutes. We just want people to join so we can start. Okay, so good morning, everyone. I welcome you to Design Power Week 10 US class. And I really want to congratulate you all for, you all have done a great job so far. You are not giving up on your career and all of that. So thumbs up for you guys. I really love that. So this is the last class, right? I'm just going to be talking about development phase, right? From design to development. So I will share my screen now so we can start. Please, can you guys notify me in case you can see my screen, or if you know you can't see my screen, please kindly call my attention back. Please, can you see my screen? Please, you can make use of the chat box so I can continue. Okay, all right. Thank you for the response. So yeah, so we'll be starting with, like I said, I welcome you all to Design Power US class, and Omolola Fele, and I know some people might be familiar. I think I've been able to take about I think 2 years class. I can't remember. Yeah, so that's it basically. So I'm going to start now. All right. So for this talk, we're going to be covering about 6 phase, or let me say 5 phase. So we are going to be talking about from design to developers, collaboration between designers to developers, and its pointers, which are the tips we'll be talking about, together with handing off designs to developers and its consequences, right? Then together with perfecting your design to development and all. So now please, in case you guys can't hear me or you know you can see my screen, please just kindly make use of the chat box, right? So all right, so I'll be starting now. Okay, so one thing about trying to maybe hand off from design to development is, one thing I always want you guys to know first is good communication, right? Like I said, good communication is important between designers and developers, right? And even between teams. Besides, one of the foundation that ensures the development of a product success is effective communication between different teams. Now, what does this mean? This means that it is not only designer and development that needs a good communication, right? So, likes of your HR, likes of the finance team, likes of the sales team, good communication is very, very essential, right? But now that we're basically talking about designers and developers. So one thing I want you guys to know is good communication. In fact, it's a whole thing, right? And it's also a big thing I want you guys to know that okay, good communication is very, very important, right? So now talking about the collaboration between designers to developers. Like I said, as designers, one of our responsibilities is to create products that meet the demands of both people and business, right? So to explain more on this, okay, so before you can start any audio is breaking. Wow. Is there, you can't hear anything? Wow. Oh, really? Okay, it's better. Okay, so wait. Okay, let me just start. So do I need to start from the beginning, or I should just continue? Okay, it's better. Okay. Okay, so let me just start from the good communication. So I don't know if you guys heard when I said about good communication. I said good communication is very, very important between designers and developers together. It's also important between teams, right? And what do I mean by teams? It might be your sales teams, it might be your finance team, because really, when designing your products, you need to like carry along these people along. Because maybe, for example, you're trying to build a product that has to take finance of sales team along. It's very, very important for you to like communicate with them, because most of this team, they may be the one, just talking to the customers, talking to the clients and all of that. So it's very, very important for you to carry them along. That's what I said about good communication. I hope it's still better. Can you guys still hear me loud and clear? All right, thank you. All right, so collaboration between designers and developers. Like I said, as designers, one of our responsibilities is to create products that meet the demands of people and businesses, right? What does this mean? It means before you can start creating your product, before you can start designing maybe wireframe or high fidelity designs, one thing is for you to communicate, just try to meet up with the stakeholders, with your team members, even together with developers. You guys need to have some discussion and see, okay, if you guys really align to whatever requirements you're going to be building, right? So it's very, very, very important. And one of the importance of a good designer developer collaboration is to for us to be able to produce products, right, which actually serve the needs of both the users and the businesses. And the reason why I'm actually saying this is because it actually helps the company grow. It helps the business grow, right? So while we also deliver value for the people that are using this product by solving their problems, it also makes their life easier, right? It's very, very important. So, like I said, I was telling the UI guys that designs is not just about taking your Figma and start designing. There is more to it, right? So, and you have to make yourself unique from others, right? So it's very, very important. And you'll probably find that some of this business organization, they have to like rectify a lot of mistake before you can finalize a product and deliver it to consumers. Like, okay, let me say consumers, right? If your design and development product teams doesn't work well together, so all this can actually like even it can result to a lot of bouncy rate. What do I mean by bouncy rate? Bouncy rate in the sense that maybe you guys don't even have a lot, you don't have communication, there is no communication, there is no, maybe you're not carrying along the teams, all of that. It can actually lead to a lot because you as a designer, you can't do the work alone. It's not possible. So you need to like, you have to be a teammate. You have to be a team what do I call this? You have to be very, very so that's one thing about the collaboration between designers and developers. So what I'm just trying to say in essence is it's very, very important for you to carry along your team members when designing a product, and also together when you're trying to communicate with your developers. And one thing I would say about developers is most of them, I don't know if you guys have already witnessed a thing whereby you design something and develop does it give you what you want. Like, some pointers. What do I mean by some pointers? Which actually means maybe the tips. Yeah, let me say the tips, right? So number one, like I said, communication. I think I've explained what this communication is all about, right? So one thing I also wanted to get to know about communication is it can be tough to communicate between design and development teams. Yes, it might be difficult, right? It can also be easier to exchange ideas and also stay in maybe you guys want to make use of some platform that has to do with communication, maybe likes of Slack, likes of um um Teams, Microsoft Teams, right? So there are different tools you can use for communication, right? And also regular evaluation meetings between the two groups, which are the designer and developers. It can also help you guys to save time. It can also maintain some strong communication. And I want you guys to know that it's also critical to consider both the side view, right? Yeah, it's very, very critical. So one guys I want you to guys know is aside from communication, maybe probably just using the Slack, the Microsoft Teams. You guys can also try to like maybe take up some design sprints, try to do maybe weekly sprints, or I don't know. It actually depends on the company's culture or the business culture, right? And again, you also need to balance everything that has to do with the business. Let me see if you guys can still hear me. Okay. So that's one thing about communication, right? So, like I said, probably weekly discussions or check in meetings. should also be the norm from day one of the project, like I said, right? So before you can start any project, just make sure that you guys have already communicate well about what the product is all about. And it's very, very important to carry them along because they need to like understand what the project is doing, what the product is doing. They need to like understand the product requirement. It's very, very important, right? So let's say for example you joined a new team, right? Let me just tell you that it's also a good practice to inquire about the current process, right? So probably you just joined a new company, a new team, you need to understand how they work. You need to understand their culture. So that determines, okay, how do you guys communicate with developers? How do you guys do teams meeting and all of that? Because each business, each company has their own different company structure. So it's very, very important for you to know what culture they're dealing with, right? So it's also a good practice, like I said, to inquire about the current process. And there are also some tools that you can actually use. I think I've said that for communication. You can use Slack, you can use Microsoft Teams and all of that, right? And also I want you guys to know that asking questions will also help you to understand how the teams likes to communicate best, right? So ask a question, like I said, you can't be a designer and you don't know how to ask questions. It's not possible, right? Even if you want to ask hundred of question, it's always it's always the right thing for you guys to ask question because there is no maybe for example you are given a project brief and you don't know what the project brief is all about, right? And all what could come to your mind is, okay, I'm really scared. I hope this stakeholder won't feel as if I don't even know what I'm doing. No, don't feel that way. And I want to get to that no question seems so awkward, right? So it's always important for you to ask questions till you understand the brief of the project. Because you understanding the brief of the project will make you maybe want to share idea with other team members. So it's always important, right? So the next one I'm going to be talking about is think about design manuals or style guide. What does this mean? I don't know if okay, this is US class, but I'm sure the UI guys would have know what style guide is. I don't know if you guys know it, but I'm going to show you what it is. So, what do I mean by this design style guide? There could also be a document that has all the UI building components, right? So, what do I mean by UI building components? It just has to do with. Please, can you guys still hear me? And hope I'm not too fast. Please, I need response. Hope you guys can hear me. Okay,
Hmm?
okay. Not fast. All right. Thank you so much. All right. So, what do I mean by this design style guide? Right.
Hmm?
Is someone saying something?
That's-
Color Paul, you're saying something. Okay. So let me just continue. All right. So, what do I mean by UI building components? So, and okay, let me just say something. There's a difference between design system and style guide, right? There's a
There's the sound system.
yeah. So, please, can you help me mute your mic, please, so you don't distract. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so there is a difference between design system and style guide. And I won't okay, when I'm talking about UI building components, I don't know if you guys are familiar with likes of typography sets, color styles, assets that has to do with maybe icons or illustration. Those ones are still style guide. But when it comes to design system has to do with a whole lot. In fact, it's not only going to be your own decision for you to be able to build a design system, right? So design system it has to do with the design requirement, business requirement. There should be an agreement between the designer and the business side of it before you can create a design system. So it's a whole lot, right? So the code that's also added alongside with each component, right? It's also designed by some of these developers, and these are some of the style guide I want to share with the developers for them to be able to implement your designs, right? So that's for design style guide, and I'm going to be explaining the reason between behind this style guide, right, and how important it is. So the next one is empathy between designers and developers. What do I mean by empathy? Now, I want you guys to know that without empathy, it's impossible to create a wonderful project. I won't lie to you. Yet, it's actually not possible, right? So, reason is because everyone, maybe in a good team, has the same goals and vision. Some might even have different goals, right? And I want you to guys to know that to be a great designer, you have to understand some product aims, right? Whereas a developer might actually understand how to take them to reality. So you have to like have a thorough grasp of both roles, which actually helps the two parties in developing a mutual trusting relationship, right? And like I said, when I was saying something about the collaboration, I said great collaboration is achievable if both sides can work well together, right? So I don't know if you guys are familiar with empathy. This thing there is this design thinking process, though design thinking process actually like it differs, right? It actually differs. So one thing about this empathy, you know how we used to empathize with our users now, how you guys to understand their pain points, understand the frustration, understand their goals of that particular product. So I'm using the word here empathy between designers and developers. So there must be like a mutual trusting relationship between the designers and developers. Because trust me, you see designers and developers, they used to fight a lot. And I'm a victim actually. Because there was a time I had to like design something and I was really expecting so disappointed. Is more to handing off designs to developers, right? I did not create a good asset for him. There was not even a mutual trusting relationship between us, right? So design just about the Figma file and start implementing. No, right? It's not just about that. So the next one is opinions from developers. So I want you guys to know that this involvement of a good developer will always aid the designer in creating a fantastic product, right? So, for example, you're trying to create a new product, and even before you start designing your UI, you start asking your developer, okay, what's up? What do you think about this idea and all of that? Even the developer, he feels so happy that okay, that you also like you know what you're doing, and you also like you want to carry him along. So it's always important to get opinions from your developers, right? And also, it will also always run smoothly if you have the current staff in place, right? And also, it's also like it's going to be easier for you to like communicate with each other if the designers are aware of each other's duty and yeah, and expectation. Let me put it that way. Yes, if they're actually like, okay, me as a designer, I know my duties and I know what I'm expecting, then maybe Kolapo as a developer, you know what his duty is, you know what his expectation is also. So it's always important to have opinions from. Please, Obi, please, can you help me mute your mic, please? Okay, thank you. All right, so like I said, it's always important to have opinions from developers, right? So the last one is distinction. What do I mean by distinction? Distinction, yeah, what I mean here is variation, or we can also call it difference, right? So you have to like understand the distinction between developer and designer. So let me tell you something, there will always be a fight between designer and developer. It's normal. Trust me. See, in my company yesterday, we see when we were doing design sprints, there is still a fight between this designer and developer. Yes, they're really angry at us that we could not even communicate better. There was not even a good asset for us to like provide them with. Do you understand? So there's always a distinction. Just know that you guys are different, right? What I believe is actually different from what Kolapom believe. So you need to like just create this distinction, right? And I want you guys to know that even some of these developers say they always love to work alone. I won't lie to you. I don't know if you guys have any witnessed that stuff. They like to work alone, right? So neither the team understand the other preference or styles. So I want you guys to know that designers also you need to like engage with your developers in a cordial manner. Like I said, you need to like build this trusting relationship between you guys. Because some It will be easier to build a better product if you have a clear grasp of the two. Do you understand? So it's always going to be a win-win situation. So I want you guys to know that, okay, for you to be able to create a more successful team, you have to ensure that your developer understand the design and the needs of the design. So I hope you guys understand what I've said about the collaboration between designers and developers. So all this, in fact, there is more. If everything I'll be saying, you guys can just come up with ideas on how you can actually like create more collaboration between your designers. So, like I said, it's not a one-way thing. You might go to a different company today, and the structure is quite different from what you believe you're meant to do, right? So don't always believe that there's a one way for all thing. No. Even what I've said, if you go and meet another, maybe another designer, it might give you another tips, another pointers. Do you understand? So don't believe it's a one way thing. Just know that okay, what you are doing is the right thing. Do you understand? So it's always important, right? So the next one I'm going to be talking about is handing off designs to developers and stakeholders, right? So, like I said, the design handoff process is a collaborative effort. It's a point whereby developers implement the finished designs, right? I also note something that a good designer developer relationship is essential for the success of the product development. So there's a type of error here. Essential. You know, say something about design and the process, right? And also something about if you don't operate on the type of design you be a teammate, because you as a designer, you have to learn how to deal with people differences. You need to you want to learn how to mingle with people, how to share ideas and collect ideas together. It's a point whereby developers implement designs, right? And for them to be able to finish, for them to be able to implement this finish, their set you need to provide for them. Do you understand? So it's always important, like there's always a relationship between you guys. In fact, even for you guys to be friends, so they're able to give you a good result. And I want you guys to know something, right? See, you might create a good user experience, right? And developers should help you to create something that's different. It's literally possible because if there's a mistake, probably typography, for example, typography can come in both UI and UX, yes. Because when it comes to probably I'm using 12 pixels for my website, it's not possible, accessibility sake, right? So you need to like understand all those stuff as a UX designer as well. Do you get it? So you need to like always, if it's for you to be having everyday meeting with them, so they're able to create whatever you've designed for them. Do you understand? So it's actually possible for you to like do all of that. So the next slide. So this is what I had to put here. Like I said, these are some of the assets, right? And some can actually like put all this in a PowerPoint. So for you to be able to document all your process. So it's either you send them an asset like this, which are your color palette, your button styles, your text field. So all this now they're called style guide. I said something about style guide, right? The whole style guide. So it's very, very important for you guys to know this, right? So it's either you put all this in a PowerPoint documenting all your process, document your thought process, what made you do this. So you have to like carry along your developers. So all these are style guide. So all these are very, very important for you to send to them, because the guys like understand the typeface you are using, the font you are using, the size, the icon set you are using. For example, you are making use of flat icons, right? And for example, you do not even give them all the style guide. They might go and use icon sacks for you or another set of icons. So it's literally possible. So just make sure you provide every asset that is necessary for them to be able to work with, right? So these are also the spacing, the grid system, the text field, the selection, right? You just have to create components for your developers. It's very, very important. So this is for me to be able to view this. This also is in the next slide, right? Maybe for example, you're making use of grid system, 4 columns, 16, maybe margin, then also got at 24 pixels. All this is very, very important for you to let the developers know, because without all this, they might not be able to know it. And again, just know that developers are lazy. Yes, I'm not sorry to say, because most developers I've worked with, they're always lazy. So all this will be a guideline for them to be able to work with. So it's important, right? It's quite important. So can you see the screenshot I put here? Right. So I have to like put all this. So this is also a guideline for them to be able to work with. And one other thing is it always makes their work easier. Do you understand? Yes, it makes their work easier. So it's very, very important for you to note all of that. So the next slide, some consequences challenge of handing off. Number one, bad communication. I think I've already explained what this bad communication can cause. It might lead to bouncy rate of the product if there is bad communication. It can lead to, it can even lead to disagreements. It can lead to miscommunication also, which is the same thing as bad communication. So it's very, very important for you to have this collaboration and a good communication between you and developers, right? So lack of good assets. What I just showed you guys now, they're called assets, they're called style guide. So you need to like provide them with all of those assets for them to be able to work with. So these are some of the challenges that some developers face, right? For them not creating a good and a good user experience product. Do you understand? So the third one is no handoff meeting, right? Like I said something about weekly sprints. I said something about meetings, right? For example, you want to design a fintech application and you're done with transferring money. You can have design sprint or probably a teams meeting about what that future is all about. Just have this, just carry them along that, okay, did they implemented the right thing? Did they implement the right thing? Have they done the right thing for me? Right. So these are what you need to understand. So having handoff meeting is very, very important. It's very, very important, like I said. The next one is no provision of prototype link. What does this mean? I'm sure you guys are familiar with prototype, right? So this is also a prototype that I'm displaying for you guys. It's always important to provide them with prototype. So what I'm going to tell you guys about this prototype link is one thing about business or company is they have, like I said, they have different company culture. Do you understand? So you need to like know how your team member react. You need to know how they relate with designers, how they relate with developers. Do you understand? So it's very, very important. In my company, we provide prototype link and design asset together with weekly sprints. We usually have weekly sprint between the designer and developers. So you need to like provide them with prototype link for them to be able to know how to navigate through the product, and also for easy navigation. So it's always important for you to note that. Then lack of naming convention and file naming. What do I mean by this? So let me show you something here. Can you see this? So this is how I name my frames. This is what I call file naming, like files. These are frames, right? So you need to like know how to name your files. So some people don't even name their files at all. What they do is just everything, just like the normal. Let me show you something. Just like the normal frame name. Can you see this one is MacBook? But for example, you want to design a login page here. Change this MacBook to login. It's always to give them an insight about what a particular page is all about. Do you understand? So looking at this now, though I used to start with small case to caps lock. Do you understand? So the reason I'm naming my files like this is because this is how developer do the naming convention as well. So even if you don't want to do this, just make sure that you are naming all your files. It's very, very important. Do you understand? Looking at this, I have and enough, which I'm starting with small letter, right? This one as well, I'm starting with small letter, collaboration between designers to developers. So these are very, very important when naming your frames. Do you understand? So the reason why I'm saying it's a challenge is because most designers don't even name the frame, and it might actually like lead to a bad listen for developers. They might not even understand what that particular page is all about. Do you understand? So that's that for the challenges. Okay, so perfecting your designs to development and of. What do I mean by this? I think I've already said this. For you to be able to perfect your design to development and of, you need to be able to know some features, or let me just say there's some tips you need to understand. See, let me tell you something. There is okay. Okay, you know how people used to do that. Okay, you're just the norms designer. Okay, let me just say generalist, right? So just always make sure you are different from other designers, right? Always make sure you are unique. So some don't know after designing the frames, what they do is just send the link and that's all. No. See, some even make use of PowerPoint. What do you mean PowerPoint? Like presentation. If, in fact, you can even use Figma for your presentation just because you want to hand off to developers. Do you understand? So it's very, very important for you to note this, that okay, you need to like provide prototype link, you need to provide assets, which are your style guide. I need to explain your thought process. Do you understand? It's very, very important to note all of this, which makes you more unique. It even makes developers work more easier for them to work with. Do you understand? So it's very, very important for you to note all of this, right? So I think I'm done with the slides. So then we have the key takeaway, right? So one thing I will always tell you guys is attempt to include developers in the design process. You know, I said this. By the time you want to start a new project, always take your developers along in whatever thought process you are meant to do, in whatever research or whatsoever. In fact, they might even like give you ideas. Do you understand? So the next one is promote the importance of user UX design principles. Do you understand? So always make sure that your UX design principles that are very, very like important for you to note, and also for you to be able to deliver to your developers, right? Always promote this importance of the design principles that we have as well. Work closely with the developers and include them in the design process. I think I've explained this, right? Always build this mutual trusting relationship between them, and always like work closely with them and monitor whatever features they're developing. Work in design sprints or circles if possible. I've said it as well. Maybe probably you want to do teams meeting every Friday. You want to do design sprints every Friday or probably every Monday. I don't know. But it's always advisable to always run a weekly sprint. Do you understand? Between designers and developers. So the next one is ask for comments frequently and be open to suggestion. I said something about being a good teammate. You can't be a designer, you don't know how to collaborate. It's not possible, right? So always ask for comments, always ask for suggestion. Be open, just be open to suggestion, right? See, even aside from developers, anybody from maybe HR team or probably sales team, they might even give you a good idea and it's going to result to a good conversion rate for your product. So it's always important for you to like be open to suggestion, be open to people's idea and all of that. So the last one is frequent communication. Yeah, I will keep saying this. Communication is the best thing, and a stakeholder meeting, have a meeting with your developers, carry them along. Do you understand? So also just always make sure that you provide your design style guide, right? Even when designing, maybe you are done with a particular feature, always carry them along, always communicate better with them. It's very, very important. Provide them with a style guide, like I've said that, provide them with a style guide. Probably you want to put all of them in a design file, or you want to put them in a PowerPoint. I don't know, whichever way you like it. So it's fine. I'm going to show you guys what a style guide is. Let me show you. I think I have one here. Okay. Can you all see my okay? So this is one thing I call style guide as well. I created my color set. I don't know if you guys can see this. You can hear me. Okay. Please, can you all see what I'm showing you? Can you hear me now, Kolapo? Can you hear me? Please, can anyone hear me? Or
Hear you clearly.
all right, thank you, thank you. So I want to show you what a component or a style guide is. So these are my own UI building component for this particular project. Do you understand? So this I have my colors, the colors I'm the logo I'm creating for the logo. Then the font, this is my typography, you trying to create a good typography set for your developers, right? And also you trying to name it. Can you all see? Okay, this one is not named already. So all these are what I use to create my textiles, and it's very, very important. Can you see these are my textiles? It's very important because it makes the work more easier for developers, right? So these are my assets, my medias. When it comes to my icon sets, my probably illustrations, then together with my GIF and emoji. So you can see that whatever asset I'm using for the product, I used to document it under my component and style guide. So it's always important for you to also name your pages. Do you understand? All these are quite easy. These are my these are my button sets, the types of button I used, the input fields, the checkbox, radio button, all these are also style guide. So you could just like send this link to developers, or you want to maybe export each of these file and put them in a PowerPoint. Do you understand? It's also possible, but there is no need. So far Figma has helped you to save all of those trays, so you could just use Figma for your handing off as well. So this is my error notification, everything that has to do with every asset I'm using for that product. I have to create a component for each of those products. Do you understand? See, even has to do with see, this is I'm even showing you guys all this is because I want you guys to know that design is not taking Figma as designing frames. No, in fact, it's always time for me to be able to do all of this. I already used about 1 month to design my style guide before I even start designing my high fidelity. Do you understand? So it's always important for you guys to know to know all of this, right? It takes time, but then it's worth it. Aside from making your developer to work with this, it even make you guys work easier because all you just do is you've already created a component, right? Just drag and drop or copy and paste and you start editing. No need for you to start editing from scratch or designing from scratch and all that. Do you understand what I've said? So the next one I have to like design is my okay, these are just miscellaneous, maybe anything that has to do with components, my side menu, everything that has to do with components basically. So all these, even if the developers see this, right, I'm still going to arrange this because are scattered kind of. So if the developers see this, they're very happy seeing this, I've already created something more easier for them to work with. So it's very, very important. That's all for the style guide. So it's important for you guys to know that okay, style guide is very, very important for you guys to work with, right? If you guys don't even remember anything, please, before you start designing, so after your research, after designing your low fidelity wireframing, you want to test your wireframe, because it's always important to test your wireframing as well, right? So after that, you move to your high fidelity. Do you get it? So always know that it's always important to create a style guide. So that's it for the handing off from design to development phase, right? So is there any question you guys would like to ask? Is there any question? So you can make use of the chat box to ask a question. I'm open to any question. So we have 12 minutes to take up any question in case you have any question to ask. Is there no question? So how is it easy to create style guide before designs? So okay, thank you for that question. So before you can be able to create style guide, right? Just know that even if you're not creating other assets, your button styles, your input field are very, very important for you to create, because without your style guide, I'm not sure you want to start design without your style guide. Though it's possible, right? But it's always important. So from there you create your variants so you can switch between components. Do you understand? Though all this, some of these components I created it when I want to use it. So it's not as if I created everything before my high fidelity. No. So maybe for example, I want to design a new feature I did not think of, right? So all I just do is create the component and go and use it immediately. That is all what I do. But before I start with the design, I didn't make sure that I have this page first. I have my buttons, I have my input field, and I had to do this because I didn't know the styles I want to work with. Do you understand? I didn't know the styles I'm going to be working with. And I know I'm going to need all of this as well in my designs. So I have to like create all of this down. Do you get it? So it's not compulsory for you to get to design all your style guide first. No. But those ones that are very important, like your buttons, your colors, your typography, make sure you design all those ones down, right? Because it actually gives you an insight about what typeface, what colors you want to use in your designs. Do you understand? Did I answer your question, Kolapo? Kolapo, do I answer your question? Okay, so Obi Francisca, my question is for designing your style guide. Sorry, I don't understand the question. Can you rephrase? My question is for designing your style guide. Okay, maybe if I get you right, you want to ask how to design a style guide, if I'm right. So I don't know, this is meant to be a US class, so I don't know if you white guys have taken that course, but you might want to ask probably want to check YouTube if they've done that. But let me just give you an insight about creating a style guide. So it's nothing serious. Before you can start creating a style guide, so I didn't know what. So I actually pick my primary colors from the company's logo. This is the company's logo. Do you understand? So from there, I get to know that okay, this might be my secondary color. I'll surely need a black text for success, yellow for warning or pending actions. Do you understand? So all this is just a normal thing for you to know that okay, it's important to use white in your design, important to use black, important to use a primary color and all that. So it's not as if there is one way for you to design something. No. In fact, if you check the design community, I'm going to see a lot of style guide there, right? But I always prefer to design my own from scratch because I might not see what I'm looking for in design community. Do you get it? What I mean, Figma community. I mean, I hope you know how to use Figma community now. So you guys can search here also, explore community for stuff. So just search for style guide. You're going to see it there, right? So that's for that. Then I already know the kind of icon set I'll be using. So my icon set, I make use of icon sags. It's a file. Keep my icons. So this is contact for this particular product. Do you understand? I also make use of GIF, which are some of the assets, illustrations, the GIF. All these are just a norm thing. It's not as if there's a one way for you to create a style guide. No, just make sure that every asset you be using for your designs make sure that available not only for developers but also for you. Do you get it, Obi? So I think that's the guide. You can also check YouTube for how to create a style guide. So it's not as if there is a one-way thing for creating style guide. um who designed the style guide, place, is it the UI or the UX designer? So style guide is meant to be for UI designers, but trust me, you can't practice that kind of thing in Nigeria. Do you understand? Because see, in Nigeria, you don't know anything that has to do with UI designer, because most of them, they don't even know the job description, right? Some people use product designer, some use UI designer. But I will advise that you, as a UX designer, you also know how to create a style guide, right? Please, it's always important. Just, it's not as if it's something serious now. It's just as if you are creating your normal design. So just create an input field, create a button, and all those assets makes up your style guide. It's not as if there is one serious thing about style guide. MC Clive, if I'm right. So I think that's for that. How do you get all the assets? So there are different place to get your asset actually, right? So the only assets I used here is this one. This is Streamlight, is a paid website for getting illustration, icons, and all that. So this one is Lottie Files. This one also is Lottie Files. This one is emoji. I got this one from Figma community. This emoji. Then my icons, I make use of icon sacks. So these are the icons here. I make use of icon sacks here. So that's for how. What's the question again? Okay, how do I get all the assets? Yeah, so you can get assets anywhere. Trust me, just that you are consistent with your whatever assets you are using. Do you understand? So it's very important for you to be consistent to your assets. So is it compulsory to create new icons too, or you can compile them? Yeah, you can compile them before you start your designs. Do you understand? And it's not as if you are designing icons. So just look for what good icon pack that you can work with. So that's for that. Oreoluwa. Okay. What is the difference between UX UI designer and I'm sure you want to ask product designer, right? So one thing I've always get to know about UI designer and product designer is you as a UI UX designer, you have different role, right? In fact, UI is different from UX designer. But in Nigeria, we are practicing a whole lot because we don't even know what it is. But if you start moving to all these global companies, Fortune 500 companies, you start to say UX researcher, you start to say UX designer, you start to say product designer. Yes, this is very, very important, right? So you as a UX designer, you know that your roles are you can be an interaction designer, right? It's also under UX, right? You can be a UX researcher, right? It's also under UX as well. You can be a more other skill like you can also think of. You can also be a what do we call this guys? So there's a lot of roles actually under UX, right? Then under UI designer, you can maybe in fact under UI designer there's a whole lot of roles under UI as well. You may want to be a design system designer. Trust me, it's not easy to create design system. I don't mean style guide though, I mean design system. Some companies use 2 years to create style guide, design system. I mean, do you understand? So that's for UI designer. You might want to be a UI design system designer. You might want to be a visual designer. You might want to be a motion designer. All these are classified under UI designer. So for product designer, this product designer is doing a whole lot. Trust me. They have to do with the user side, they have to do with the business side, they have to do with the development phase as well. So there's a whole lot a product designer is doing. So it's not just about the role. It's not just about okay, because my friend is a product designer, I want to put a product designer. No. See, there's a whole lot, right? It's not just about the title. A product designer is performing a whole lot of actions. Do you understand? If as a product designer, you're also like, even if you don't know what coding is, you already have an insight, right? You are dealing with stakeholders, you're dealing with business requirements, you're dealing with a whole lot as a product designer. So have I answered your question, Ife? And Oreoluwa, okay, yeah, you're welcome. Kolapo, yes, of course, you can reach me out on LinkedIn. I'm very, very much available. You can reach me on Instagram, you can reach me on LinkedIn, you can reach me on Twitter, right? The same name, Fele Molola. So, is there any other question you guys would like to ask? We have 2 minutes more to answer any question. So you can ask me any question, or please, any question, any question. No other question? Okay, so I assume there is no other question. Thank you guys for attending this class, and I'm sure you guys at least learn one or two things. You already learned how to hand over your designs to developers, how to create a mutual trusting relationship between you as a designer and a developer. So thank you so much guys for attending this class, and I also congratulate you guys for, you guys have just measured a whole milestone. So I really congratulate you guys so well. You've done a good job. All right, so thank you guys. Do ensure you have a good day ahead. All right. All right, bye.